Okay, now we're joined by Rashida Tlaib. She is running in Michigan's 13th district as a just Democrat. That means she's uncorrupted, no corporate PAC money, deeply progressive. Rashida, welcome to Rebel headquarters.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. But Rashida, I got to tell you, there is a part of your platform I'm not sure that I agree with, so that's going to be an interesting conversation. And part of your platform that I absolutely love and that I don't see on other platforms. So we'll hold that for a sec. And let's talk about the unique situation you have in Michigan's 13th. That's John Conyers' old seat. So legendary congressman, civil rights hero, and of course in a lot of ways, but a step down because of a scandal that happened in this last term. So you've got 6 people, is this right? You got 6 people in the Democratic primary, but no opponent in the Republicans?
No, there is going to be a write-in candidate, but yeah, he got kicked out of the off the ballot because he didn't fill out his paperwork correctly.
Okay, so they're going to try to write in a Republican. So the Democrat is very, very likely to win the general election.
Oh yeah, even if there was a Republican on the ballot, they couldn't win it. It's 85% Democratic base here.
Okay, got you. And so you would be the first Muslim American woman in Congress, which would be interesting and historic, but you've actually been in politics.
Actually, it'd be powerful.
There you go. I like power. Okay, and you were already the first Muslim woman to ever serve in the Michigan legislature, so you're kind of used to setting those marks. I think your record though is what's really interesting. So I want to talk about 2 things that you did there. One was, at least, we have the right to breathe campaign. It's a sad state of affairs in America that you had to run that campaign and let people know that we have a right to breathe. But what was it about?
Well, we had a billionaire, and a lot of people don't know this, that owned the international crossing to Canada. And there, this billion-dollar corporation basically was trying to build a second span next to the current one without going through the environmental clearances. And many of my colleagues on both sides of the aisle, Democrats and Republicans, kind of looked the other way and didn't care that the owner of the bridge was not following the proper process, doing the environmental clearances, filing the permits, and many of those permits were important to mitigate any impact on people's public health. And this is a community that has 1 of 5 children have asthma, 3 times higher rate of asthma hospitalization among adults. And so I needed to do something beyond just introducing, public health bills, but actually doing something more grassroots, and that was to start the We Have a Right to Breathe campaign to educate both and really fight for our right to be heard and to elevate the families that I represented at that time. And we won. We blocked his trucks for 45 minutes. We're talking about international trade that was coming into Detroit. And we were lucky to see him get jailed one day, but it was enough for him to remove his trucks and to follow the law and the paperwork that was required for him to protect our public health.
That's kind of badass.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't want to tease people too much. I want to come back to your record in a second. So I did want to talk about the 2 issues on your platform that I mentioned earlier. So one is to, people might find it amusing that I disagree with you on this, but is to promote home ownership. Why? I always found that curious. Like, so what if I rent?
Oh, look, it's nothing against renters, but what you need to know is for us in the 13th congressional district, it's the 3rd poorest congressional district in the country. And home ownership creates economic stability, even for our neighborhoods, for our communities. And we used to be at 70%. And now we're, as low as close to even 40% in some communities. And you even see now that studies have come out to show in Michigan, there was a recent article that specifically showed that only 40% of African Americans in our state own their own homes. So for me, it is about pushing back against the big banks that we just bailed out that are not helping our families get access to what I think is the core American dream of owning your own home, which, for me is stability for families, is economic stability. It's a pathway to one of those moments where you might not have that job, or you want to lean on a property that you can be able to get equity loans out of. And so it's really important for me to have that kind of stability for my families. And right now, seeing those rates of home ownership says to me a big signal that something's wrong and the banks are not following the proper process to make sure that we all have access to those loans.
I hear you. I do think that in America we do obsess about it a little bit too much, and I think different situations require renting or owning. It's not always owning. But I will say this: if it also protects you a little bit against gentrification, because if you're a renter and the area gets gentrified, you're screwed. But if you're a homeowner, then they got to pay you. So at a bare minimum. So I'm just keeping it real in that it does at least have that upside.
Yeah, but you also should know the landlords in the Wayne County area. I am in one county, Wayne County. They haven't had the best reputation, and I'm a nonprofit legal advocate in Detroit, and I represent many of these families that were put out on the streets, but also living in conditions that I think are inhumane, not paying water bills, having the water shut off, not paying their taxes and not letting the families know, and then they're out on the street without any notice. And so there is this cycle to me of burying people into more poverty when we don't have the power and control over where we live.
You know what, that's a great point, and that might be part of my privilege showing, because I haven't had to deal with that as a renter, but I haven't been in that community, and I haven't been in a situation where people can prey on you. And so that's my, I guess, light brown privilege, but it is privilege either way, so that's a great point. All right, now the part of your platform that I love, ending corporate welfare. This isn't just to end the corruption, and it isn't just to get money out of politics. So you're just Democrats, so you're unquestioned on that. But it's to go further, to end corporate welfare. I don't know why more people don't talk about it, but what do you mean by it?
Well, it's my experiences here in Detroit. You should know we have over 50 schools got closed in Detroit recently, and what we saw is this shift of our public resources and dollars towards a hockey stadium downtown. This is 20-year break of paying property taxes, and all of that money got shifted away from going into city services, into our public school system, and into what I call an adult playground that is a for-profit entity. They didn't hire local residents like they were supposed to. Right now, many of the properties they got for like $1. I mean, this is a billionaire. This is Pizza. If you folks know Little Caesars Arena. These are to me, this family that has been in many ways speculating on property, not helping us with the number of issues that happen in the city of Detroit, including bankruptcy. And for us to be able to give that kind of tax break as early as 2 months after we filed bankruptcy, to me is unjust, especially because we still haven't got the quality city services and our fair share of resources in our neighborhoods. In Detroit downtown, you see all of the wealth and resources being centered there, and shifting of those dollars that need to go into our communities into what I call just unbelievable wealth for-profit industry. And we just did it. If you haven't heard, we just did it for Dan Gilbert, yet another billionaire in the Wayne County area that is building this, tower of a place, again, for profit, nothing benefiting the public. This is going to help him in this so-called name of creating jobs. But people need to know this is the same man that is being accused and investigated by the Department of Justice for mortgage fraud. This is the same billionaire that has been able to get tremendous amount of tax breaks in other cities. And again, the benefit is not coming back to the neighborhoods and to the families that have, stuck around during this economic recession, stuck around to wait for the so-called whatever comeback they want to call it, whatever label. And this shifting is hurting us. We're closing more schools. We have crowded classrooms. We have communities that still don't have the kind of city services that you would see just in a typical neighborhood, including fixing fire hydrants and putting up stop signs where they've been removed. Those are things that many people might not care about, but those are the things that help families live a better quality of life.
So yeah, all this corporate welfare, and they give away billions, actually in total trillions of dollars to corporations, and say it's going to trickle down on us. How's that working out? How's it working out in Detroit? How's it working out in Michigan? It's not working out at all. It's a big lie. It's a giant lie. It's just a convenient excuse for them to just take the money and not share it with us. And our representatives are supposed to fight for us. I want to give the websites, and then I want to ask you one more question. RashidaForCongress.com is the website, everybody. RashidaForCongress.com. And if you want to donate, actblue.com/donate/JD Rashida. That's in Justice Democrats. And get involved. RashidaForCongress.com/get involved. Volunteering and small dollar donations for uncorrupted candidates make a giant difference. Rashida, last question real quick is, why you instead of the 5 other Democrats?
Look, I'm not gonna sell out. I say this to people, and I really am sincere about it. I stood up against environmental pollutants, even when my Democratic colleagues told me to back off. When they're bringing tar sands and dumping petroleum coke on the riverfront and saying to me that it's not toxic, and me having to actually get it independently tested to show the state and others that yes, it creates cancer, and yes, it needs to be removed immediately. I won't waver. There's so many people that waver, and we're tired of the sellouts. I can't even tell the difference between Democrats and Republicans these days because they bow down to the banks. They bow down to the big environmental, the kind of corporate polluters that I've seen growing up. I'm really sick and tired of it. My father had 2 forms of cancer and should not have had to face that kind of pain and suffering because our public officials didn't stand up for the right thing. And so I promise to people, and it's something that is just in my core, that I just won't waver on things that I think are important and fair access to a better quality of life for the residents in the 13th Congressional District.
Rashida Tlaib coming strong, straight out of Michigan. All right, just Democrat from the 13th District. Thank you. We appreciate you joining us.
Thank you so much.